Hey everyone, this is Paul Gale from paulgalenetwork.com, and thank you for joining me today for video game sales. It is January 14th, 2022, and in today's video, we're not looking at Famitsu sales from Japan for the week, nor are we looking at NPD sales from the United States market for the last month. We're actually looking at hardware sold in total in 2021 in France. And we will also look at the hardware life to date in France, as well as some legacy consoles that may or may not surprise you. So let's check out this breakdown that I've got for you. The best-selling hardware in France last year was the Nintendo Switch, moving 1,231,000 units. PlayStation 5 came in at number 2 with 600,000. The Xbox Series came in at third with 214,000. In fourth place was PlayStation 4 with 90,000, and the Xbox One came in at fifth place with 5,000 units sold. Now this is kind of interesting because unlike the Japanese market, which we get to see all the time, there's not this tremendous divide between first place and then second and third, Over there in Japan, we see, Nintendo Switch week after week dominating, right? 90% of the market share to them. And then PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X and S are kind of comparable for second, third place. Here you look at the whole year, and yeah, Nintendo Switch outsold PlayStation 5 2-1, but that's not this giant of a gap. Xbox Series to PlayStation 5 actually has PS5 at less than 3 times better of a seller. If you look at the lifetime to date of the PlayStation 4 though, and the Xbox One, 6,070,000 PlayStation 4s were sold, 1,785,000 Xbox Ones were sold. That's over 3 times better of a seller was the PlayStation 4 over the Xbox One. So right there, if this continues, where PS5 and Xbox Series are getting to be a little bit closer. PS5 still may be the winner, if you want to call it that, over Xbox Series S and X in France, but not by as much. And I think the reason is Microsoft came out of the gate stronger this generation with Xbox Series S and X than they did comparatively with Xbox One. With Xbox One, they had some missteps. They had to rectify before launch. They chose to make the Kinect 2.0 a part of every system. That took a little bit of the power that could have gone into bettering the system from this perspective, into making sure it had enough RAM and CPU power to process Kinect 2.0. The whole DRM situation, some E3 issues, always connected online, all that kind of stuff. They fixed a lot. They ended up having a successful Xbox One S that had a 4K Blu-ray player that the PlayStation 4 Pro did not, an Xbox One X that was a lot more powerful than the PS4 Pro and also had that 4K Blu-ray player, but it was a little bit too little, too late, and the rest of the generation just kept on getting more and more separated between PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Unlike the previous gen, most of the previous gen Xbox 360 was actually ahead of PlayStation 3 until at the very end, PS3's legs lasted a little longer, and I think if you look at both of them side by side, PS3 barely edged out Xbox 360 in terms of lifetime sales, but very comparative. There are some people that go into each generation with a fresh new take, like, okay, I don't care what this previous system did last time. I could either play my third-party games on this system or this system. Yeah, I've got some exclusives this way or that way. Let's see what you have to offer. And they'll look at it a fresh new take every time. Some people say, based off of this last system, last gen, giving me a bad taste, right? Leaving a negative impression. Now I'm that much more invested into this culture of this system and achievements or trophies, one or the other, and that's kind of where my allegiance lines, right? I could get both sides, right? Typically, well, not just typically, I do buy all three, Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox, and I've done that for all of the years that all three have been out on the market. But that being said, yeah, with the Xbox Series S and X giving you 2 price points from the opening, having that backwards compatibility, being a strong system, I could see why more people are warming up to Xbox again. And not that they're not high on PlayStation 5, because Sony did a great job with PlayStation 4. They really nailed that generation. Even though the PS4 didn't sell as well as the PS2, I would argue that it's the better system with the better lineup of exclusives, the more acquisitions made of companies like Insomniac Games along the way and stuff like that. So, from a software perspective, in my opinion, I think PS4 did a better job than PS2. But maybe you could say, okay, well, what about third-party, smaller JRPGs? PS2, okay, probably wins in that category. But overall, PS4 was probably Sony's, best console that they made. Xbox One, not as strong as their Xbox 360 relative to the time. But now Xbox Series S and X being right up there. So people have this opportunity now to really get either and be pretty confident that, hey, I made a good choice. I'm either going to play games that look a little bit better here, a little bit quicker there. Okay, got Game Pass here, got PSN there. Really going to come down to, okay, first party exclusives. Are you looking forward to more of Sony's studios or Xbox's studios? But as a platform to platform, if you don't really care about achievements and trophies and have a lot of lineage and backstory, you're in for almost an equal ride, right? Well, there's a whole other issue in terms of, the content on the discs between the two also, and controllers, which you favor. But the controller side of things, that's always been an issue, right? Do you like your analog sticks symmetrical or asymmetrical? But anyways, when we do these video game sales videos, I'm talking live and real and giving you my thoughts, sharing the numbers, but also giving you some backstory and some foresight. All right. And yeah, once again, when it comes to Xbox Series and PlayStation 5, this 765,000 over that 300,000, that too is not even triple, right? That for the lifetime total is only 2.5 times better of a seller. But we'll see, because in time that will surely change, okay? But Nintendo Switch, an important number here, its lifetime of 5,948,000 in France means that it is very close, just a few thousand away from reaching PlayStation 4's totals. PlayStation 4 has been out significantly longer, so there's a reason why it's, almost 120,000 ahead. But with Nintendo Switch selling 1.2 million last year, probably sometime in January or mid-February at the latest, Nintendo Switch is going to pass PlayStation 4 and become, the best-selling modern console. I do have some old school data in here too. I know we spent a long time talking about that, especially getting a little bit distracted on the whole PlayStation versus Xbox thing and the mentality of gamers behind the scenes, but that's part of the fun in the discussion and the breakdown. So how did some past systems do? Well, the Wii U lifetime to date is 840,000. Not the best, right? Didn't quite hit 1 million lifetime to date in Japan. The 3DS, on the other hand, a pretty strong, pretty successful system with 5.62 million. You can see, though, that the Nintendo Switch has already toppled 3DS and, far exceeded the Wii U did. We have some other data to look at, which is pretty cool, too. Talk about the number one. Who's the number one? The Nintendo DS, with 10.56 million sold. It's in a league of its own. Doesn't matter if you're Nintendo, Xbox, or PlayStation, no one touches that DS total. 10.56 million. Wow. The next in the Game Boy line is, the next in the Nintendo line is the Game Boy, and that includes Game Boy, Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color with 6.5 million. Wii was their next most successful console with 6.12 million, the Game Boy Advance line at 3 million, the original NES at 1.79, GameCube at 1.5, and Nintendo 64 at 1,010,000 basically. You might notice that Virtual Boy is missing here. That Super Nintendo is unfortunately missing here, but That is what I have. And let's see. Game Boy with 6.5, Nintendo Switch at 5.9. Yeah, sometime this upcoming year, Nintendo Switch will also pass Game Boy. Even if you said, all right, it's not going to do 1.2 million in 2022, it's going to do 75% of that. That's still a whopping 900,000, right? And I think that's fairly realistic. 900,000 more, you're going to be looking at, a low 6.9 million, maybe a 6.8 million. That passes Game Boy. That then becomes the second best selling console of all time in France. And that's pretty cool to see happen with Nintendo Switch. Maybe another 800,000 or 700,000 the next year. And now you're looking at like 7.7 million total, getting closer to that DS total. Could a system pass the Nintendo DS? Maybe. We'll see. On the PlayStation side, you look at their most successful console ever, and it was the PlayStation 2 with 5.9 million. Pretty strong. Well, except for the PlayStation 4. Look at PS4, 6 million, and that's what I said. Worldwide, maybe PS2 outsold all other PlayStations, but the PlayStation 4 still did very well in all territories. Next to PS2 was the PS3 with 5.18 million. PlayStation came in next with 5 million, PSP at 3.37 million, and the PlayStation Vita moving only 520,000 units. It actually is one of the few systems that did worse than Wii U, which is kind of not funny, but interesting to see that no matter where you are in the world, Wii U and PS Vita did very comparably in almost every market. I would say that Wii U had the better software, especially on the first party side of things, but overall console hardware sales, pretty comparative. And on the Xbox side of things, can't leave out Xbox, we got the Xbox 360 at 3.17 million. That's compared to, at the time, PlayStation 3's 5.18. And Xbox at 750,000. Now, that was when Xbox was new on the scene. That's their lowest selling system. But that one moved 750,000, and that was compared to, at the time, PlayStation 2's 5.9 million and Nintendo's 1.5 million for GameCube. So Nintendo has never really done bad in France. Most of the time that they've been out there has been a success. PlayStation's never really done bad in France either. You could argue that, hey, all of their systems but one broke 3 million, so that's impressive. And Xbox, despite the first system not being able to hit 1 million, everything else has, Xbox One maybe didn't hit 2, but it broke 1.5, and that's not terrible. I do think that, and this is my final takeaway, I do think that PlayStation 5 is not going to sell worldwide more than 118 million. I think it's going to do less than PlayStation 4, not because it's not as good of a console. If anything, I think it's better. I think PlayStation 5 as a 2021 machine, or as a 2020 machine, I should say, is better for 2020 than PlayStation 3 was, or PlayStation 4 was, I should say, than PlayStation 4 was in 2013, respective to the generation, to the year. It's a better machine, more up to date with where it should be. Same with Xbox Series X. I think it's more modern of a platform for a 2020 machine than the Xbox One was for 2013's time. But the PS5, I think, is going to be down because Xbox Series X is going to be up. If I had to bet safely, I'd say that PlayStation 5 is still going to outsell Xbox Series overall this generation, but not by as much. And Nintendo Switch, they're just on a roll with Nintendo Switch. If Nintendo plays it right and they stretch out the life of Nintendo Switch, they don't abuse that life, they throw in a Nintendo Switch 2 at the appropriate time, don't abandon the old audience, keep some cross-gen support for a couple of years, showed the distinct advantages of Nintendo Switch 2 from the get-go, though, and then slowly fade into, okay, top tier, high quality exclusives only made for Nintendo Switch at this point. Maybe base Nintendo Switch still getting some indies and stuff like that. Nintendo Switch really stands a chance at being the best selling home console, portable console, hybrid console of all time in every market. But we'll see. There are a few ifs that Nintendo has to topple in order to achieve that. But all right. Thank you for joining me today for video game sales. Like I said, this was fun breaking in the France data. This is where I got the information from, by the way, some of the data at least. Ludostrie.com. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It is a French website that I'm using Google Translate to translate. If you want to check them out, this is how you spell it right here. Let's see. I mean, I'll spell it for you, but sometimes it is helpful to actually see for yourself if you're interested. It's kind of cut off right there. Ludostrie, Ludostrie.com. And I could be pronouncing that wrong. But here they have charts, breakdowns, and nice pie charts and stuff like that. It's pretty elegant. The person who wrote the article is Oscar Lemare. I might be pronouncing his last name wrong. If I am, I apologize. But Oscar went ahead and put this up, so I thought I would share it with all of you. Thanks for watching once again. Next Thursday, we should have some Famitsu data, and we'll also be having some NPD data coming in pretty soon. And yeah, whenever I get something like this, I'll make another video, and it'll just be a bonus video for this channel's drop down of video game sales content. All right, have a good one, everybody. Take it easy. Bye.